Today on CityCast Philly, it's the Friday News Roundup. So we thought this might happen. The race for president is now centered on Pennsylvania. The candidates, they're basically living here at this point. And as the largest city in the most important state, Philly might be one of the most significant cities in the country when it comes to determining who moves into the White House. Listen, if you've been completely zoned out on all this recent election drama, we've got you covered. It's Friday, October 18th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. I'm joined today by our CityCast Philly team, executive producer Matt Katz, and newsletter editor Asha Prihar. Asha, you've been keeping tabs on everything we need to know when it comes to preparing for this election. Where are we in the election calendar?
October 21st is the deadline to register to vote this coming election. That's Monday. So make sure you take care of that. Check your registration. You can do this online. It just takes a few minutes. And then October 29th, which is next Tuesday, is the deadline to request a mail ballot, which must be received by election officials by 8 p.m. on Election Day. Election Day, by the way, is November 5th. And the polls are going to be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Also, I will add, everyone's talking a lot about the presidential race. We're going to be talking about that a lot today, but there are also some other things on the ballot. In terms of statewide stuff, we've got the U.S. Senate race, the state row offices, which include Attorney General, State Treasurer, and Auditor General. And these are all competitive races. You're also going to see Congress people and some state legislators on your ballot, though those races in Philly aren't usually super contested. So we've got some resources on our website to help you dig through all of this. If you go to our local civics section on philly.citycast.fm, you'll find articles explaining what these offices are, an article with links to voter guides where you can learn about all the candidates, and then also some information about registering to vote and voting by mail.
That's really helpful information because a friend of mine actually sent me a link to get some free Janet Jackson tickets to go to her concert in Vegas. Nice. And it ended up being one of those register to vote drive things.
Wait, did you get the Janet Jackson tickets?
No, I didn't get them yet because it was a contest.
But they get, it's a contest. So you register to vote and then your name is put into
Yeah. Asha, where can other voters check to see what their registration status is?
PA.gov has a website where you can type in your date of birth and your driver's license number, or you can type in your name and your birthday and your zip code if you don't want to pull out your driver's license or if you don't have one. And that'll show you your registration status. It'll show you the address you're registered at. It'll show you your political party. So if you look at this and you're like, this isn't right anymore, the deadline to make changes to that information that pops up, like an address change, is also October 21st, which is Monday. Yes.
Matt, you've been reporting on politics for a long time. What kinds of things are you noticing in these last 2.5 weeks before the election?
I don't know why I didn't get any offer for a Janet Jackson tickets.
Sorry, I'll send you the link.
This is to me the most shocking thing about this election cycle, that they're giving away Janet Jackson tickets. By the way, speaking of giving away Janet Jackson tickets, the strange thing, there's several strange things about this election. Elon Musk wrote on X on Thursday that he's going to be having town halls in the Philadelphia region, in the suburbs. And if you go to this town hall that he'll be hosting, you have to sign this petition that states that you support the First and Second Amendments, freedom of speech, right to bear arms. And if you sign the petition, you get $47 for every registered voter that you refer to the petition who also signs a petition. So it's like a $47 referral bonus. It's how it's being framed. But we'll see how this all shakes out. He has been announcing this on X, the platform that he owns, using the, this is funny, he apparently took over @America, which is a username on X. Oh. And that is the PAC that is supporting Trump that he founded. And it's @America. So he tweeted that he will be doing 3 talks in Pennsylvania over the coming days and will eventually do a half a dozen throughout the state. So we'll see if Trump gets the Musk bump, and if the Musk bump outweighs the Taylor Swift bump that Kamala Harris is hoping to get in Pennsylvania. So that is one unusual thing about this election, in that you have one of the richest men in the world who controls one of the most powerful social media platforms in the world, who is all in on Trump. And the other thing is that I'm around a bit. I walk, bike, drive around the city, and I just have not seen a lot of campaign signs compared to previous elections, compared to like even primaries. There's a Trump billboard I've seen off 676. There's a Trump house in Fishtown that I saw the other day. It was just like decked out with all this MAGA stuff. But I have not seen that many signs or flyers. I have not gotten flyers in my mailbox like I have in the past. Usually it just like fills my. I have a mail slot, and usually the mail people at this time of year are just stuffing my mail slot with all these flyers from candidates. I've not gotten any of that stuff. Have you gotten flyers in the mail?
Where do you live? Because I don't even get bills anymore. I'm just getting freaking ads to vote, and it's too much. I'm like, where's the bill? I'm looking for a bill, which is crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, maybe that's just maybe it's one of those fluke things, or maybe they're not like targeting my neighborhood yet. I have no idea.
Maybe they lost your address.
I get a lot of text messages.
I've been getting so many texts. I haven't really been getting the mailers so much either. I have been seeing signs, definitely, like in people's windows. I was in Elfreth's Alley a couple weeks ago with my boyfriend's parents when they were in town, and people had like Harris signs in their window on this like very like touristy street. One person even had one of those like flags that's like, "We're not going back," with the Harris walls kind of slogan that they've been using. I've definitely been seeing them, like seeing signs in windows. I've seen a Trump house as well around.
Have you gotten a knock on your door, like canvassers?
Oh, no, I haven't gotten that.
No, I usually don't answer my door, though, to be honest with you, because the fake Pico people or whatever. Sure. Like, I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. Like, they can leave a flyer or something if they have something to tell me.
More election updates after the break. I think this all basically just shows us that there is a lot of pressure maybe to just like get people to vote. And one way we know that is that Philly is the center for all of this political nonsense. Everyone's in town to spread the word for either Harris or Trump, right?
Yeah, I will say, though, although these candidates are coming here on the Democratic side, there's like a lot of hand-wringing this week over whether or not the Democrats are doing enough to get out the vote for Harris. There have been all these articles about the Democratic operation in Pennsylvania failing. There's Democrats on the record criticizing other Democrats for not doing enough. Politico had an article this week quoting Ryan Boyer, who's basically the top union leader in the city right now. He said on the record that Harris's Pennsylvania campaign manager just doesn't understand Philly. It's a level of infighting that could spell doom for the Dems here. The Inquirer had a story on Thursday about these accusations, said the Harris campaign isn't running its Philly operation well. Harris's campaign manager said, yes, we hear the criticisms, but it's not true. The campaign has spent more than any other previous Democratic presidential campaign on outreach to the Black and Latino communities in Pennsylvania. And they said that Harris spent 1 out of every 3 days in the state in September. So, yes, the candidates are like here a lot, but it's unclear whether the operation behind them, at least on the Democratic side, is doing enough. Maybe they need to give out like $48 to counter Elon Musk's $47.
This is so messy. I feel
messy.
like as a party, you should be united.
This is like a Democratic thing.
It's a Democratic thing, right?
I feel like every cycle there's a bunch of articles right before the election where we are right now with Democratic infighting, and Democrats kind of wear their civil war on their sleeves a little bit more than the Republicans do. But nonetheless, all the candidates have been coming through here, and the news is dominated by who's saying what and where in Philly and the Philly burbs.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely noticed when I've been, looking for stories for the Hey Philly newsletter over the past couple of months, like every once in a while, it's like Harrison's in town, Trump is in town, like Biden's in town. But this week, it's kind of just been this sort of onslaught of all the candidates kind of just coming at once, their surrogates being here. So, President Joe Biden was at the Philadelphia City Committee dinner on Tuesday, where he made headlines calling Trump a loser.
And if you've seen the campaign Kamala's run, it proves I'm right. The enthusiasm has been off the charts. Her convention was great. She beat Trump so badly in the debate, he's scared to death to beat her again. That's a fact. Tough guy, right? Tough guy. Because he knows he'll lose again. That's a fact. He is a loser.
Tough guy. Put him up. Put him up. That's what it sounds like to me.
Wow. Yeah. And then earlier in the week, Trump had this kind of bizarre appearance in Montgomery County on Monday, where he spent a lot of the time sort of swaying to a playlist with songs on it like YMCA and Ave Maria for 39 minutes, which resulted in the Harris campaign questioning his fitness for office.
We'll play YMCA and we'll go home.
Well, I'm going to have that song in my head the rest of the day, YMCA.
I have an Ave Maria in my head.
Yeah, me too. And Harris was in Bucks County, just outside Philly, on Wednesday, where she held a campaign event featuring Republicans and ex-Trump supporters who are now supporting her bid for office.
It is clear Donald Trump is increasingly unstable and unhinged.
Oh, so she had ex-Trump supporters, which is interesting because I was watching, the Halloween Chopped, Halloween like decorating baking shows, and I still got the political ads.
Wow.
But I saw more ads for former Trump supporters saying that, they're now voting for Harris.
Yeah, it seems like that's a message that she's really trying to get out there this cycle, is that she has people crossing party lines to support her.
Well, she needs it. She can't. There's no other math to win the state than to get Republicans and independents who might have voted for Trump in the past to flip over to the Democratic side. I mean, Trump won the state in his first time around. So that's absolutely the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And Asha, wasn't J.D. Vance in town too?
Yeah, he was in the suburbs as well earlier this week. And then Trump is apparently going to be coming around this weekend to the Philly area, actually to a McDonald's where he plans to, quote unquote, work the French fries.
God.
Yeah, he's been trying to claim that Harris, who's talked about working at McDonald's when she was young during this campaign, that she didn't. Of course, Harris has been pushing back against that, but now he's planning to show up at a McDonald's himself and be behind the counter. His campaign hasn't said yet which McDonald's, but just that it'll be in the Philly area. Interesting
that McDonald's is now a part of the campaign issues. I used to work at McDonald's, and that fry machine, you're going to get a lot of acne.
But yeah, I just want to preface what I'm about to say is in no way like an endorsement of him or anything, but like just putting politics aside. I actually think one of the most relatable things I learned about Trump when he was president was that he loves to eat McDonald's because, like, yeah, me too. I love McDonald's. But I feel like this kind of visit could easily backfire because, like worst case scenario, like there's some picture of him that gets taken where he looks really uncomfortable and like doesn't know how to work the fryer. Best case scenario, it just looks like another politician photo op.
Yeah. I mean, I think also you're hitting something, Asha, in the fact that he's relatable and he's relatable to the working class people of America. So it's interesting because the Inquirer had a really interesting analysis that showed that the more impoverished a community was in Philly, the more Republican it got.
Yeah, this was really interesting. And Trump has increased his percentage of support also among Black and Latino voters. Among Black voters alone, support for Trump went from 7% in 2016 to 15% this election, which is, not massive. Still, Democrats have the vast majority of Black and working class support, but he is making inroads there.
This whole conversation about the Black vote is really just interesting. I've read articles I've seen on social media, and not all Black men, but some Black men just don't feel connected to Harris for some reason. But on the flip side, when we saw the official bid for Harris, Black women mobilized in really large numbers in support for her.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is really about the male vote, maybe more than the Black vote. The disparity between the candidates when it comes to gender is really stark. So some of the ways in which Trump has been able to eat into Harris's support in the Black community might be a gender thing. Trump has a 13-point advantage among men in Pennsylvania, and Harris has an 18-point advantage among women in Pennsylvania. So that might be what's going on here. I don't know if there's a specific message that she can make to Black men. It might be a message that she needs to send to men in general.
More on the 2024 presidential election after the break. Behind the backdrop of this presidential election is also a statewide Senate race. Matt, what's happening in the race between Senator Casey and Dave McCormick?
It's getting tighter. The polls show that it is getting tighter. Casey had a very comfortable lead through the summer. Now it looks like we're almost in toss-up territory. The men had a debate this week, and Casey, he framed abortion as a rights issue, a women's rights issue, as a human rights issue. He said most Americans believe that our daughters shouldn't have fewer rights than their mothers or grandmothers. He sees this as a vulnerability that the Republicans might have here, obviously with Roe v. Wade being dismantled over the last couple of years. McCormick opposes abortion. He calls it a states' rights issue, not a women's rights issue. So in other words, basically states should have the power to ban abortion or not, is his view. One amusing but maybe not all that substantive thing happened this week in that race when McCormick went to a Eagles tailgate party, and he tweeted that he was excited to see the Steelers win that day. So maybe he was just looking forward to watching the Steelers on TV after the Eagles tailgate, but obviously the Steelers play in Pittsburgh. Eagles fans don't like Steelers fans, so he got dragged online for confusing this. And maybe it was more of an issue because one of the biggest attacks that Casey's made on McCormick is that McCormick rents this multi-million-dollar mansion in Connecticut, and Casey alleges that McCormick doesn't even live in Pennsylvania. So if you don't live in Pennsylvania, you might not be familiar with the fact that there's two very different football teams on very different sides of the state. So those are the storylines happening this week in that race. By the way, according to Semaphore, the news site, this race is now costing all in $300 million. This is just like TV ads and everything else with both campaigns and the PACs all combined. I mean, $300 million. It seems like SEPTA could have used that money instead.
All right. Before we wrap up today's roundup, we've got some bittersweet news. Our fantastic newsletter editor, Asha Prihar, is leaving us for a new job. Fortunately, she's staying in journalism. Unfortunately, she won't be writing for the Hey Philly newsletter anymore. Asha, thank you so much for all your wonderful work and your insights about Philly, and joining the podcast too sometimes for our roundups and our news quizzes. We're going to miss you. Can I ask you if you had a favorite Philly story that you've covered for us?
First of all, thank you so much, Trenae. And I'm going to miss working with you too. It's been such a delight to, work with you every day, to work with our wonderful producer, Abby, as well, and now Matt. It's just been so lovely, and I've loved coming on and chatting in the pod with you too. So to answer your question, though, there are so many that come to mind, but if I had to pick just one to highlight, I really loved getting to talk to Jennifer Leary, who's the founder of this women's sports watch party group in Philly. I chatted with her back in the spring for Hey Philly's 3 Questions With segment. And this was when she was first starting to organize WNBA watch parties around the city. She was and is still really trying to create a space for women's sports fans to gather and to find community, even though Philly, doesn't have any dedicated women's sports bars or any professional teams of its own yet. But we talked about how, she's really hoping that establishing this community will help make the case for expansion into Philly. The WNBA has kind of had Philly on a short list at some point, though it hasn't quite panned out yet. So this is definitely, an effort that I think a lot of people seem to have appreciated. These parties have seemed like they're pretty successful in the time since then.
That's great, Asha, and thank you for giving space to those voices and highlighting these stories from Philadelphia over your time here. I really appreciate it. And by the way, for those who are listening, we are hiring a new newsletter editor to replace Asha. So if that's you, if you love Philly, if you want to hang out with me, Trenae, and Abby every day, there's a link to the job posting in your Hey Philly newsletter today. So check it out.
Cool. Matt, Asha, this was great.
Thanks, Trenae.
Thanks for having us, Trenae. I'm so excited to keep listening to your voice every day.
That's your election roundup here on CityCast Philly. Our executive producer is Matt Katz. Our producers are Abby Fritz and Noah Snyderman. Our Hey Philly newsletter editor is Asha Prihar, with help this week from Ava Wynowski. Thanks for everything, Asha. And our host is me, Trenae Nuri. Music is by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from all the kimonos. If you enjoy this week of episodes, tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Philly. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe, y'all. Bye.
Where is Musk? Where does he live?
Supposedly he was relocating to Pennsylvania for this election cycle, or maybe he lives in space on one of his rockets. That's what it sometimes feels like.
I can't. Sorry.
Right? Doesn't it?